All right, greetings everyone. Hello from Silicon Valley and hello to everyone in the Middle East. I'd like to specifically thank our viewing partners. We have Rise Up with us from Egypt, as well as the Crib in Dubai, and everyone else who's viewing us. We'd like to welcome you. We're very excited for today's webinar. We have with us Yasmeen Turayhi. Yasmeen has a wealth of experience in product marketing. Today's topic is going to be an introduction to product marketing from a global PM lead herself at Adderall. She previously led product marketing at GTM as well. So lots of insight from Yasmeen. She's also one of our board directors. We're very excited to have her with us. Thank you, Yasmeen.
Thank you, Nita. Thank you so much for the introduction. And it's so great to meet with you guys and talk to you a little bit about product marketing. It's my absolute favorite topic. And so before, actually, without further ado, let's just go right into the deck. So I'm going to share my screen. And if you guys could let me know if you can see my screen. Maybe someone could just say yes or no.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Wonderful. All right, so I'm going to present it. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm really excited about product marketing. I've been in this role for many years and I've launched a number of products. And so I want to really talk to folks working in the tech world, as well as founders and product managers and engineers about product marketing and how crucial and important this particular role is. It's actually called different things in different markets, but in the Valley, it's known as product marketing, and it's been around for about, I'd say, 8 to 10 years or so. And so let's get started. So a little bit about me. Like I said, I've been a product marketer in various industries, from fintech, payments, ad tech, marketing tech. I've done some machine learning, and I've worked in companies from early stage, so seed stage, all the way through Series D and acquisition. I was at a Series D company a couple of years ago that got acquired by AdMobi for about $310 million. And I've launched about 200 products globally. And when I say products, that could actually mean features as well. So it doesn't necessarily have to mean these big product launches. I actually have various tiers for products from 1 to 3. And so the majority of them are probably tier 2 and tier 3, like features as opposed to big products. All right, and Nita, can we just ask folks if they want to ask any questions to just chime in during the presentation? Yeah. Okay, great.
Also, feel free to send us, for anyone who's not viewing live and just watching on YouTube, you can send us questions on Twitter using the hashtag TWWebinar, or you can send us direct messages on either Twitter or Facebook.
Okay, great. Great, so I'm going to talk to you today about what a product marketer is, when you should hire one at your startup, why you should hire one, and then some of the core pillars from market validation, framework messaging, positioning, and go-to-market and launch and execution. So what exactly is a product marketing manager? So a product marketing manager is really responsible for the customer-facing side of a product launch. So most of the times, product managers are focused on building the right product. Product marketing managers are responsible for doing the customer research, due diligence, market research, and really validating the product with the customer base, and always being the eyes and ears to the customer. It's something that a lot of startups forget or don't have the time to assign a key person to do. Oftentimes, if it's a 2-3 person shop, you've got a CEO, you've got someone who's probably focused on product and sales. And, oh, I think there's an echo. Someone who's probably focused on product and sales, and then other folks who are focused on financing. And so product marketing managers really focus on the customer. And it's something that a lot of startups really just forget or kind of don't prioritize within their organization. And this, in my opinion, is why most startups end up failing. 95% of the startups in the Valley, for the record, fail. And oftentimes it's really because they've lost focus of their customer, of their market. So if you cannot find a product marketing manager, there should be a designated person who's absolutely responsible for this piece. Market adoption, what does that mean from a KPI perspective? So when should you hire one? So oftentimes in the Valley, Product marketing managers are hired at these kind of three core phases. One, when the product becomes so complex that you cannot really describe what the product does online, right? So if someone logs onto your site, let's say, or someone talks to you, someone, oh, can you guys mute? Sorry. If someone talks to someone at your company, or if they log on and it's initially a self-serve product, but you've gotten more complex, oftentimes the product marketing manager is able to really break down the complexity of a product into tangible concepts, right? So something that is, let's say, a machine learning product that's very complex and has multiple phases and feature sets, or maybe has a really complex onboarding process. A product marketing manager is responsible for building out materials to explain something that's really complex. Another time that you would hire a product marketing manager is for changing sales cycles. So if, let's say, you're going to an enterprise model and you're bringing on a big group of sales folks, you have to equip them with sales enablement materials, right? And even if you're not necessarily bringing out a big sales team, if you're hiring new sales folks, they need to be able to go to the market and really message the market with the same positioning that the company has really agreed on. Oftentimes what happens is companies will hire many sales folks and they will all be sort of speaking a different language to different customers. And it's really important to stay in the narrative of messaging of what your company is going to be and what it represents today. So I think that product marketing really helps with brand positioning. And that's especially important when you've hired a big sales team. And then the last time you hire a product marketing manager is when a product manager just does not have the time to conduct appropriate customer research. This happens all the time. Product managers will do a lot of due diligence, market research, will probably work really closely with engineering or work really closely with your CEO and the founder, and they don't have the time to actually do customer research. And when I say customer research, I don't mean usability research. I mean deep discussions on business and product specific use cases, right? And so I'll get a little bit more into that later, but this is a really important point. All right, before I move on, any questions? Okay, so a lot of founders ask me, when should I hire a product marketing manager? I think that before I really go and dive into this answer, I want to just set the context really for the many different types of stages of product, right? So as your company grows and scales, you're going to have very different types of product managers, very different types of product marketing managers focusing on very different things. So this chart really represents that evolution. In this early stage, you've got, a product that might be a hypothesis, like maybe, you sat with a couple folks and you said, oh, I think I have this really great product idea, but I'm not sure if this is something customers want. That is what I would consider to be an early stage product lifecycle. So the people that you would bring on board in this stage are going to be very different from mid stage and later stage. And in this stage, you're validating your market. A market may not even exist. You may even be creating your own market. And it's really, really important to do a discovery process, which I'll get into later as well, but customer research, and really hone into what customers are saying. I usually spend about an hour and a half per customer, and 5 to 7 customers in your target market are usually a good proxy for 80% of what you're going to find from that market. I think this is also a stage where people administer a lot of surveys. Be a little bit wary and careful of surveys. They're not going to tell you the full picture. So I like to do a lot of, I would just call it interviewing really with your customer base. So next we have mid-stage, which is when a product is it could be in beta or a closed beta, and you're really trying to launch this in different markets. But first, before you go into beta, before you finish off beta, you have to ensure that that your beta is actually working. And one thing I've noticed with founders is in beta, oftentimes we won't charge for a particular product, and then when we get out of beta, we find that no one actually wants to pay for our product. And so I can't stress this enough. I think that there should be multiple phases of beta, in the sense that if you can't find a customer to test with you immediately, that's fine. You can offer it, you can waive the price for them, but never really give away your products for free. You know, position it so that it's always worth something and that it always has some sort of value. And you know, once you feel comfortable leaving beta, you know, then you can move into a launch. But it's really, really important that you get out all of your kinks and your, you know, kind of all the different things, the bugs, the things that could possibly go wrong in your beta before you launch, because you'll oftentimes only have one time to prove your product to customers. If a customer, you know, logs on, has a really terrible experience, I mean, you guys probably know this as well. If you have a terrible user experience one time, you're not going to think about that company favorably. So it's really, really important to get this right. And then this later stage, this is for companies that have sophisticated, you know, product teams. They're probably, you know, the companies like the Facebooks, the Googles of the world, the folks that have been around for many years, who are just building new feature sets on top of their existing product. And oftentimes these product managers and product marketing managers like myself would then focus on, you know, rolling out internationally, going to different regions, maybe adding on different feature sets to the existing products, adjacent products. Those are the types of things those folks focus on. So those are the three stages, how I like to, you know, bucket where we are in a product life cycle. I imagine most of you guys are probably early stage, mid stage. Most of the bigger companies, you know, are focused on entirely different things and also have much higher resources, right? So I've done the seed stage. I've worked with, you know, as small as like a group of 4 or 5 people, 4 or 5 engineers with no business folks, no sales folks. So I understand, you know, the pain points of having a small team and having to be really scrappy. Okay, so when should you hire one? So it really depends. It depends on your product, it depends on your team, and it depends on your funding. And so even if you don't necessarily have funding, I think that it's just important to just recognize that each phase has has a different like type of product marketing manager and type of work that is important in order to launch to the next phase. And so this is just an example for you guys to see what happens in the Valley. But in early stages, we have a lot of folks who are in seed, Series A, are still trying to figure out their MVP. They still might be in the hypothesis stage. And then as you're able to prove yourself in a product life cycle, you're able to get additional funding. And I think I could flip this and say it's probably very true even when it comes to creating revenue, right? So when you're starting to create revenue, you're evolving in the product life cycle. So you could look at this in a number of different ways. All right, and so why should you hire a product marketing manager? So the difference, you know, people always ask me, what's the difference between a product manager and a product marketing manager? Product managers are focused on the product build, and so they are laser focused on, you know, building out the right product requirements document, working with engineers, really trying to build the best user experience possible from a buy flow perspective. So I consider them to be the CEO of the product. They're the ones who are really making a lot of the bigger decisions on the trajectory of the product, but they work really closely with a product marketing manager. And if oftentimes a product manager is just so busy that they can't get to customer research, then they also don't have probably the expertise or the time to build out the right positioning, value prop, messaging, and even execute on marketing programs. So this role, product marketing manager, is actually really crucial. And I also, I put strategy in the middle here because product managers and product marketing managers oftentimes share the strategy. I'm going to pause because I know I've been talking a lot. Does anyone have any questions? Okay.
So you're fine. We have lots of questions coming in the end. Rise Up wants to join directly and ask them to you.
Okay. Okay, great. Awesome. Sounds good. Okay. And so, you know, folks also asking why they should hire a product marketing manager. And so, you know, every company again has its own nuances of how they describe the function and how they like where they want a product marketer to focus within the realm of the funnel. So oftentimes product marketers will be asked to focus on, you know, just the awareness piece or maybe just the conversion piece, which is lower down the funnel. I often think that product marketers should be focused on both the top half of the funnel as well as the bottom half of the funnel. And I've just, you know, sort of given some examples of what that means, right? So from an awareness perspective, in order to build the right positioning and messaging, we have to do the due diligence to really understand the buyer personas, the customer journey, what the market looks like, and how to really build out the narrative and the story. And then in the bottom half of the funnel, you're building out, you've got like more additional information, because folks actually know what your product is. They're aware of your product. They don't necessarily know how to use it and how it fits in with their life, right? So it's really, pushing them a little bit further down the funnel to purchase. And a lot of that has to do with competition, right? So what are your competitors doing? What are some alternatives? All right. So where a product marketer sits in an organization, this is it's a nebulous kind of role. Everyone, I've been thrown on many different teams, from strategy to product management to marketing, to having my own team. So it's a role that should be very neutral, but that sits in between marketing, product, and sales. So let's just review real quick before we move on to what an actual product marketer does. See, and sorry, do you mind if someone mutes? I think I hear something in the background. Nida, do you mind? We need to just mute someone, because it sounds like there's some noise in the background.
Yeah, I think if you're still on the other Hangouts link, maybe could you just close that browser? I think it's coming from the other end.
Let's see. Okay, one second. One moment. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
The YouTube.
Okay.
You have a YouTube channel. There we go.
Okay, perfect. All right. So why should you hire a product marketer? Just let's review real quick. A product marketer, adds value across all functions. They sort of sit in the middle of sales, marketing, product. They should have a really strong opinion on their product and their industry. So I often say that a good product marketer is one that is able to have a controversial, or I would say just different opinion than the product manager. And that's when I think it's done well, is when both of the product manager and the product marketing manager have gone off, done their own research and due diligence, and come to the table with a different opinion, but also have the ability to work towards a similar goal and trajectory, right? So oftentimes you've got like debates on where the product direction should go, and then you'll confirm and agree on the direction of a product based on all the different pieces of information. Okay, so product marketing core pillars. These are the three themes that product marketers are really responsible for. So I spoke about this a little bit earlier, but I'm going to get into it a little bit in more detail. Market validation, framing the message, and then delivering the message. So in the market validation phase, this includes research, testing, looking at competitors, and then also doing some due diligence on pricing. I didn't talk a lot about pricing, and I'm not going to get into it because we could have a separate conversation all about pricing. But that is something that a lot of product marketers are also responsible for. And then framing the message, the positioning and messaging. So I usually build out a positioning document that will be the guide for how we want to write all of our documentation going forward, how we want to write all of our sales enablement tools, and anything that we're going to externally launch in the market is going to start with this positioning document. So it's really, really important that you create one. And then the go-to-market strategy, working with PR, building out a PR plan, creating content oftentimes, and then I work with digital marketers to help me execute the actual marketing programs that I put together. So I loved this quote. I attended a marketing lecture last year, and Patrick Campbell, who runs Price Intelligently, took data from a ton of different customers in mostly like B2B and SaaS software in the Valley, and he says majority of people are not talking to their customers. If you ask your folks within your company, let's say CEO or product manager, have you talked to your customers? They will always say yes. Of course, we're talking to our customers. But then when you ask that question again, you'll find out that most people are having anecdotal conversations with customers. They're not validating the actual product roadmap. And when I say validating the product roadmap, what I mean is, really getting into the details of the business and product questions with your customers, having very deep conversations, letting them do most of the talking, and also, last but not least, documenting documenting their feedback, right? Because what oftentimes happens is one person may have extended conversations with a set of customers, but guess what? That information is just exists in their heads. There's no one who's able to really bring together the key themes, the trends that you're seeing across all different customers. And the only way you can actually create anything useful from the conversations you've had with your customers is if you're documenting it and you're really creating themes around it. Okay, so in the discovery phase, so what I normally do is I'll write up a list of questions, of all the questions I have for my market. And usually it's like, I'll have like 50 to 100. I won't use probably more than 15 to 20 because you'll find out as you conduct these research interviews, what is really important and what's not important, what customers want to spend more time talking about and what they don't want to spend time talking about. And so it's really an iterative process. And what I also say is by the end of your research, you should be able to really create what I have listed on the right, understanding their business priorities, goals, customer journeys, personas, what the ecosystem looks like. So it's not just about your customers, but where do you fit in your industry ecosystem? Who are your partners? Who are your potential blockers? How do you, do you have a list of features that you want to build for the product, and how are you prioritizing that list? All right, this is just an example of a customer persona that that comes out of one of these discovery sessions. This is just one piece of the puzzle, but it's just something that's important for you to recognize as you're building out positioning and messaging materials. So this is some of the market research that I did at Adroll for one of our products, is just really understanding where the other competitors play in this space for an on-site product, for instance, right? And so what I did is looked at different pricing models, where we were today, where we're going to be, in version 3 of the product. Again, this is just an example of one of our products, but I've done multiple layers of research and built out multiple ecosystem maps. I'm going to talk a little bit fast because I actually don't have too much time. So if I'm going too fast, just let me know. But I'm going to try to speed through the next few sections because we have a lot of slides. Okay, so product marketers develop the strategy. They write the positioning and messaging for products. So that's like a core integral piece of this role. And what I mean by positioning and messaging is all of these components: the positioning statement, the mission statement, your boilerplate, and so your positioning statement is the way you're going to articulate why your product makes sense within your market. Your mission statement is internal. That's not something, you can share it, of course, but I think it's really just important to hone in on why you're doing what you're doing. The why is extremely and incredibly important. And taglines, your overarching theme, your key benefits, and then customers and different segments, and then unique benefits and features. I always build out all of these pieces before I launch a product. Here's some examples of some mission statements. Disney, to make people happy. Nike, bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. Instagram, capture and share the world's moments. And then Amazon, to be the world's most customer-centric company. So here's an example of a go-to-market plan. It's just, so really, before I don't even want you guys to look at that slide because I'm going to explain things in my own way here. But go-to-market is really just answering the who, the what, the why, and the when. It is literally a business plan that is constantly changing with new information. So we'll go back to the slide because I wanted you guys to really internalize that. And so really a go-to-market plan just allows you to articulate how you're going to launch your product. And it's a mix of building the right programs and then and also really understanding what your KPIs and your goals are in the long term, in the end. How many customers do you want? How do you want to show up? Do you want to have a momentum push? Who's going to be responsible for, customer service, all of these little nuances. And every single person in the company has to understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. I can't stress that enough. Oftentimes, marketing goes off in their own world and they start executing different programs and no one in the company has any idea what's going on except for sales, maybe. It's really important that everyone from your customer service team, your product team, your eng team, everyone knows what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you're doing it. I sometimes just have quick go-to-market syncs every week, every 2 weeks to ensure that we're all on the same page. So I oftentimes will build product pages and landing pages for any of my product launches. So here's an example. This is for one of our products at Adderall called Onsite. So we built out both a product page which articulates what the product does, as well as filmed a product webinar. I am a big proponent of product webinars. I think not enough companies do them, but if you don't have a lot of money to spend, it's the easiest thing you could do to generate, to basically answer questions for your customer base without having to hire people to do so. So for example, if you have a product that you've launched and you don't have a sales team, but you don't also have the time to answer all these questions, you could film a product webinar that explains the value proposition, how you use it, pricing, all the different components, and then walk through a live demo of how to use the product on your site. So that's something that I've done multiple times, and it works really well. All right, case studies and white papers. Customers always ask, like, can you talk to me about a customer that has seen, great results using your product? So I think it's important, even if you're really small and you're, 2-3 people, it's really important to have one customer in your back pocket that you could always go to as your reference point. Oh, well, we have this customer and this, they're small to medium business, and this is the way that they use our product, and these are the results that they've been able to get. And it also just gives you a lot more credibility when you're going to launch a particular product. So I'm lucky. I have a creative team. I worked in companies where I did not have a creative team and had to outsource this. So I've been able to really work with folks and articulate how I want the product to show up in the market, with everything from typography to color to font design. And this is like really a fun part of product marketing, in my opinion. You get to really sit with our creative team and map out different ideas on imaging and representation of the product. All right, so the last phase is you've gone through testing, you've talked to customers, you've built out your plan, you know what your goals are once you've launched. Everyone in the company is ready, from customer service to beyond. And now you want to drive awareness, right? And this is a really critical and important phase, because I don't think enough people go into this phase with an understanding of their goals, right? And so it's really, really important to understand how you're going to show up and why you're going to show up in these, let's say, channels that you're doing here. So oftentimes we worked with these folks at Adderall, and some of my other companies I've worked with TechCrunch, as well as the New York Times. And then, if you're launching a product and you are trying to grow the audience list at the top of the funnel, let's say the awareness piece, it's really important that you have some sort of landing page that folks can go to, and also webinars that are in your category. You always want to give people something for free in order to bring them back later when they're ready to purchase. So here's an example of one. I worked with Mixpanel, and we co-hosted a webinar on why people open emails, what 1.7 billion emails revealed. And that was great because a lot of folks, we had just launched this product at Adderall called Senroll, and it's now it's called Adderall Email, but it's an email retargeting product. And so that was a great webinar because it brought in a lot of lead gen for us, a lot of customers who were in the email marketing space and who were looking for their next product. Okay, and I'm also lucky because I have a growth team that's focused to helping me grow products that are already in market. So AppQs is a really great site that you guys can check out, but it allows you to sort of message customers that are already in your UI about certain tactics that they can use with your product. I also have written plenty of blog posts in my time. It's a good way to also generate interest and also point sales folks to when customers have questions, right? Like oftentimes you can really articulate your story in a blog post. And so it's great to have, again, in your back pocket. Industry webinars, I spoke about that already. We oftentimes have email drip campaigns. So I'll send out an email campaign to the respective audiences and ensure that folks are, let's say ensure that the goals match up to our desired outcomes, that people are opening the emails, that they're reading it, they're engaging in it, and that they're potentially buying it. And we track all that using UTMs. And then paid traffic. A lot of folks in the Valley don't really want to spend money on paid advertising, but it is something that is available to you. And then lastly, social. So we've got different media channels. A great way to manage your social media platform is through Buffer, and a couple other sites where you can just post one particular message across various social media channels at the same time. All right. Well, I have about 10 minutes or so before I need to jump, but I'd love to open it up to questions that any of you guys might have. I know I've been saying a lot, speaking a lot, and shared a lot. So yeah, I'm excited to hear your questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Yasmeen, for sharing your insight. We do have lots of questions coming in. And I want to remind everyone that you can just share questions on the live chat on YouTube, or you can send them on Twitter if that does not work. So the first question we have from a gentleman named Ahmad from Rise Up. He wanted to ask about, let's see, suggested tools to build the customer persona.
Okay. So I would not actually suggest that you use any sort of tools for customer personas. Why don't I share my email address? I'm happy to give you guys examples of what a customer persona includes, but at a very high level, it includes just what the representative customer looks like. So is your target customer primarily female? What is their demographic? Is it, or you can even have like a theme, like 25 to 35. What are their motivations? What are their challenges? What do they care about? Where do they consume information? Where do they live? And so I would encourage you to start with those questions when you're building out a customer persona. And what I do is I like to bring in pictures of people that represent our target market, because it allows me to really feel and empathize with them as I'm building out my positioning material and marketing programs, right? And especially when you're building out your marketing programs, in terms of the channels that you want to use, it's really important to know your customer base, because that's where they're going to be consuming information. But happy to share more thoughts via email.
Awesome. Thanks, Yasmeen. And in that regard, actually, someone was asking if you would be willing to share your PowerPoint presentation. So perhaps we can share that afterwards as well, if you're open to it. So I believe that came from Ali. We can get back to you on that, Ali.
Yeah, so I just have to check with my company, because there's some stuff in there that I'm not sure that they would want me to distribute, but I can probably remove some of the slides and send out an abbreviated version if that's cool.
So why don't we'll look into that, and then of course let the team at Rise Up know. But I know they'd love to have that information on hand. Ali was also asking another question about how to get value tested before MVP.
Yeah, I wish I could ask him a follow-up question on that. So that's a really hard question to answer without context, but I would say that if you are having conversations with your customers, and I would ask them this, I would ask them to quantify their importance of the product. So what happens during a lot of customer interviews is you'll ask, like, you try to get a sense of whether or not a product is important, but you don't actually quantify it. So, and I'll give you an example. I've done like due diligence for this product that we were thinking about building, decided not to build, and I was kind of hearing like, oh yeah, of course, I'd love to use this product from a lot of our customers, but then when I asked them to quantify it, I said on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is this product, and why? And when I asked them to quantify it, I was really surprised at how different the numbers were versus the answers from a qualitative perspective. So that's really important, and you can really slice and dice the quantitative aspect in a number of different ways. So if a customer is going to tell you on a scale of 1 to 10, this is a 5, or this is a 3, or this is a 4, you've got a lot of work to do. I can't remember who said this once, but it was very true. The larger that your pain point is, the more value you have as a product, right? So just think about that in every scenario. Like, how big of a pain point is this problem, and how are you solving it, right? So really dig into that, and then I've conducted research interviews where I've heard from customers who responded with a 9 or a 10 in every interview. And so that has been incredibly helpful for me in terms of gauging whether or not we want to move forward. So I would suggest quantify your numbers, quantify the value of your product.
Thank you, Yasmeen. And for Ali, who asked the question, if you just want to send us some more context via email, we can be sure to get you some more information from Yasmeen. Great. And then we have another question. I believe you touched on this briefly already, just about the relationship between the sales team and the PMM. So can you elaborate more on like what that relationship typically looks like, what it should look like, what kind of communication happens between the two?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. And I think I might even build out a presentation just on that, on that concept, because so full disclosure, I think every company in the Valley has a little bit of a tug of war between these two functions, and that's fine, right? Because I think oftentimes what happens is sales teams come on board, and they need to go to market with a particular message, and oftentimes they will tell product teams, well, we're hearing this from our customers, and I need this from our customers, and this is what we should be building. And and then like from a product perspective and product marketing perspective, they're looking at things from a very different angle. We're not trying to pitch products, but we're trying to build things for the long term in a market where we don't actually have a lot of the information. So what happens, and I'll give you an example of this. One time, I was working really closely with our sales teams, and they were like, we need to build this product. This is like an absolute must, or this feature set. And we ended up running down this road and building this particular feature set. And then it turned out that only 1 or 2 customers wanted the feature. So we lost a lot of time, we lost a lot of money with that scenario. And so I think it's just really important to absolutely have an open dialogue. I think it's really important to always have a window into what sales is saying, because they're the first front of line with customers, but also understand that the product teams are looking at things from a very different angle. They're trying to create solutions and not solve problems, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Yasmeen. I know we're out of time, so we probably should wrap it up. There's a big thank you coming in from the Rise Up team, so they just wanted to be sure that on behalf of Rise Up, they thank you. And like I said, we'll follow up about the presentation, whether or not we can share certain slides. And again, anyone who has further questions for Yasmeen, please shoot us an email at info@techwadi.org, and we'll be sure to get those answered. Thank
Great.
you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye-bye.